Welcome, everyone, to the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Nat, and I'm joined by my beautiful co host, Fab and Raj. Week 14 is done and dusted, and with the playoffs happening this week, we would have, playoffs. We thought we'd have, thought we'd have a mailbag episode to answer some of your pressing fantasy related questions to help you win your league or leagues. And then we'll get into our popular love-hate segments as always. But before we get into it, quick reminder, everyone, if you like our content and have benefited from our love-hate, waiver wire, or trade segments, we have a small favor. Rate, follow, and subscribe. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Stay locked into those channels. As usual, we'll have a ton of content and advice to take you through to Week 15 with the fantasy playoffs in full swing. If you're looking for in-depth analytics, injury analysis, and weekly floor and ceiling ranks, download League Champ today from the App Store or Google Play. Also, check out their podcast available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I want to say a big thank you to everyone for all their questions. Very much appreciated. We got a lot of questions to get into today, so we'll not waste any time. We'll dive right in with our first question. This one comes from a fellow member of the Bush League, Stammers. If the season ended today, who is your QB1 next year? Raj.
Josh Allen.
It's not
after
close.
after the 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdown game, like he's QB1 until further notice, man, in the fantasy. And further notice could mean the next 8 years. It's nuts. Legit.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't disagree.
I mean, you can make an argument for Burrow and Lamar because right now Lamar has more points than Josh Allen, and Burrow is only 3 points away.
He does not.
Lamar does not have more
depends
points.
What format.
Lamar has more points than Burrow.
Yeah, Lamar, yes, and Burrow has 3 points less. So you can make an argument for all 3 of them, to be honest with you, and you wouldn't be wrong either way. Yeah, obviously the consensus is Josh Allen, but if you're looking for most points, it's not Josh Allen, it's Lamar Jackson.
Sure. I mean, we're talking next year.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm first overall in a 2 QB league, I'm taking Josh Allen before
Absolutely, and you're not wrong for that.
The other 2.
You're not wrong for that.
You're just not saying it's a slam dunk, Fab.
Yeah, that's it. I just don't think it's as like for sure it's Josh Allen. I'm like, well, likelihood. I mean, listen, Josh Allen in the last 6 years has finished QB3 or better. So yeah, for sure. And Lamar last year wasn't a great year, even though he won the MVP. So I definitely.
I feel like less with Lamar, and that's you just said it. He's finished top 3 the last 6 years.
Oh, it's more consistent for sure.
You have the higher consistent floor.
Yeah.
When taking,
which is that floor is still very, very high, right?
Yeah. And with that game, Allen is now 20 points behind Lamar.
Fab, we'll need you to do the standard deviations of each QB in terms of like.
I can do that. Sure.
Yeah, I think that will really give us like the right, who's better. Yeah.
Is that do you need that for next week or? Hold on, give me 15 minutes. Okay, hold on. I'm
preferably before the end of the episode.
Okay.
We'll move on to our next question. This one comes from Burris. He's saying Guerendo or Pollard, and who should start? Who should you start Guerendo over, basically? And is he a top 12 guy? Fab?
I mean, I don't think Guerendo's going to play this week. I mean, it's a short week, so obviously it's he didn't practice this week. I just saw Shanahan's coach speak or whatever, saying how they hope he can still be healthy even without practicing for Thursday. So that kind of is concerning. So this week, I think you might have to go Pollard, but assuming that he's healthy for the rest of the way, I think he's a top 12 guy. I do. I mean, I can see him starting over some other players that like you might be a little bit on the fence on. I mean. The offense is going to run through him, right? You have to assume. So I think he's definitely a top 12 guy the rest of the way, assuming he's healthy.
Chuba Hubbard is 12
Chuba Hubbard, I can't count him out, man. Every single week you think he's going to have a tough week. And now that Jonathan Brooks is out for the rest of the season, prayers up to him because, man, the rookie tore his...
Well, I don't think he really had any...
No, you assume there's going to be a bit of an impact for the rest of the way. But yeah, Guerendo is definitely a top top 15 guy for sure. For sure.
Look, if he plays, like you can't go wrong either way. The Bengals are 5th in points to running backs in the last 4 games, and the Rams are 7th. And we just saw what Dell did through against the Bengals. So I think you can't go wrong either way. But yeah, if it looks like Guerendo is not going to play, and even if he does, he might be hobbled. You might see Patrick Taylor Jr. a bit more. So I'd probably lean Pollard. And yeah, for me, who do you start him over? I think potentially the Chuba Hubbards, the James Conner, excuse me, um, Aaron Jones. But like, I'm not starting him over. I think like David Montgomery level, that's like the most, and anything above that, I'm not starting him over
Yeah, I don't
other
disagree.
some of those guys.
Interesting. I don't know. I would look at matchup as well, but
Yeah,
I guess
for sure.
I'll agree. Another question here from Burris. I guess he was on a roll the other day. Stuck at wide receiver in the playoffs. Mooney or Odunze the rest of the way? Raj?
Yeah, Mooney just came out of 6 for 142 against the Vikings. Was really solid, and I think Fab, you wrote in our show notes like it looks like he's outpacing Drake London, and even for this week in particular, he's going to play the Raiders, who play a lot of man coverage, and Mooney has a 78 PFF grade against man. So I like that matchup. And to me, Adunze is just a bit too up and down. Gets a lot of targets, but doesn't get a lot of catches. So
Yeah, I'm right there
He's
with him.
Man, I don't know what a great season he's had. He has more fantasy points than Jaden Reed, Cooper Kupp,
yeah,
Jordan Addison, McConkey, Shakir,
I think he
Nico
has more
Collins,
fantasy
AJ
points than
Brown.
fantasy points than Drake London right now in the last
No,
few weeks.
London is still ahead of him, but by about 20 points. But London's beginning of the year was a little bit better. But yards wise, they are neck and neck. He has more yards than London at the moment. Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're all in agreement with Mooney on this one. Rico Tesso, is it safe to bench Kamara or Breece the rest of the season?
I mean, it depends on what your other options are. I see both of them right now are kind of high in RB2s. I mean, Kamara slowed down a little bit, and Breece is obviously injured, but Breece has a cakewalk of a rest of season schedule, and that it's hard to bench when the matchups are that good, in my opinion, because he can still get you those 30 burger points, those 30 point weeks, and we saw it already this year too a few times. But I would lean more towards benching Kamara if you have better options. But even that, like that's saying a lot.
Yeah, I think your better options have to be like incredibly better options. The
Yeah,
only thing I guess that scares me from Breece is now with the injury and the Jets like completely gone for the like they're completely out of it. Maybe they don't need to rush him back, and with Allen playing the way he's playing, maybe they don't unleash him. Maybe they do have more of a 50-50 split. But I mean, Kamara now with Carr out, I think he's destined to get a little bit more receptions, little dump offs out of the backfield. So if I'm sitting one of them, maybe it's Breece before Kamara.
play your studs, man. If these guys are playing, you can't really sit them. Especially Kamara, his floor has been so good. He's only had one game below double digits, and it was in week 7 against the Broncos. He had 8.4 points. Otherwise, he's been above at least 12 points in every game this year. Very solid floor. So play your studs.
Yeah, that's the rule of thumb
hundred
number one in
percent.
the playoffs. Don't second guess it. Play your studs. They got you there. Play your studs. Next question here from Junior says, first of all, excellent work all year. You played a part in getting me a well-earned bye week, which leads me to my next question. While everyone is stressing out in week 1 of the fantasy playoffs, what's your drink of choice while you sit on the couch with your feet up and watch Sunday football stress-free? First off, thank you for the nice high praise there. Raj, what's your drink of choice?
Thank you, Junior, from Partial Breakaway. Appreciate you guys always. I don't live stress free in fantasy because I'm in 5 leagues. So, but otherwise, it'd probably be a Negroni. Nice homemade Negroni on a Sunday. Trying to watch football on my phone on the zone while my kids are running around with Blippi and other cartoons on the main screen. That's basically how I watch football these days. But yeah, it's with probably with a Negroni.
Yeah, I don't understand the sentence either. Watch football stress free. But yeah, I guess I'll just have a beer on the weekend, I suppose, at that point now. But I'll be, even if I'm not drinking, I'm stressed. And even if I don't have a bye, I'm still stressed anyway. So this is just going to be a, a regular weekend for me, regardless of what my standings is in fantasy football.
Yeah, Raj, I guess your household is kind of similar to what mine is, and both my kids are getting Amazon tablets from my parents this 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 Christmas. So no more Blippy on the main screen. Daddy pays the bills here, so Daddy gets the big screen. My drink of choice is probably, yes, that Negroni, but if it's a nice, Sunday evening getting ready for the night game, it would be a nice glass of scotch.
Mm.
Sit back, and now it's like you don't have to stress from Sunday night football either after stressing all day watching all the games, and you're just like, a nice glass of scotch.
Bye week though, man. You gotta live it up. That means you're really good. That means you gotta win at the end, man. It's a lot of pressure too. A lot of
Yeah, it
pressure.
sucks going one and done after a bye.
Yep,
That's the
it
worst feeling
does.
Yeah.
ever.
It
Worst
does.
feeling ever. Um, Next question comes in from T Sags. Adding McCormick over Hunt for running back needy team.
That's an easy yes for me. I think they're starting to ease in Pacheco a lot more into that offense in the Kansas City Chiefs, and then McCormick has had some pretty good usage just in the last 2 games, right? 12 carries against Kansas City in week 13 and 15 carries against Tampa Bay in week 14. So at the end of the playoff schedule right now, like you kind of want to get guys who are going to be getting the rock a lot more, so you might as well just take a flyer because you don't know what can happen. So I would definitely make this move.
Yeah, that's a pretty sincere analysis. I would agree.
Especially if you don't have Pacheco. Like, there's really no reason for you to carry Hunt right now,
Yeah.
in my
Yeah, if you have
opinion.
Pacheco, I can see you keeping him just in the event that Pacheco goes down. But if you don't, it's like, you know what?
Guys, that didn't hit.
Yeah,
That was a
that
very
hit.
sincere analysis.
That hit. That hit.
Oh
Sincere
my
McCormick. Very good.
God,
Well done.
Jesus.
What more do you want, man?
Oh, Raj tries so
Nope.
hard.
Not even a reaction.
No
Jeez.
reaction.
Zero reaction.
Right over our heads.
We're
Right
too
over our
focused, man.
heads.
It's playoff time. We're
Yeah,
too
let's go.
focused. We got to
Let's
get
go.
these responses going.
So we got Ali Kazmian, 75. Does Juwan Johnson still have value with Carr out? I picked up Calcaterra? How do you say?
Calcaterra.
Calcaterra. Okay, there you go. Personally, tough, but tight ends usually are QB's best friends, especially when you're not throwing downfield. So he may still have value. I think more than Calcaterra would have, in my opinion, right this moment. I don't know how you guys feel.
I like the Philly tight ends. Like Dallas Goedert has always been really good. Well, he's been pretty good this year when he's been healthy, and Calcaterra has filled in fairly admirably in those games where he had to be the number one guy. But I think Juwan Johnson just has a higher ceiling, like regardless of
At,
who the QB is.
as the sole proprietor of Juwan Johnson stock and in the Juwan Johnson Island business, I've always been a big fan of him. So 16% target share last week, and there's no one else to throw to aside from Kamara.
Yeah, and I think that with AJ Brown whining this past weekend, I think they're going to have to throw him the ball a little bit more and focus more on getting him the ball. So I figure, yeah, maybe stick with Juwan Johnson at least for this week. Speaking of AJ Brown, L Vizzle, why is AJ Brown ruining my fantasy life after picking him at 9? I think this
Short
one's pretty
answer is
easy.
because you picked Travis Kelce right after him.
I mean, smarter answer is you passed on Chase and Justin Jefferson and took AJ Brown.
Bit defensible.
The chase is defensible.
The chase is defensible because of the holdout. I'd say even Justin Jefferson, you just didn't know what to expect with Darnold. But my issue, and I've said it for a while now, is I think Jalen Hurts has some limitations. And I don't think he sees the field very well. And when teams play man against him, a lot of man against him, it doesn't make sense because that's when it's one-on-one coverage, he knows where to go. When it's zone defense, that's where he struggles and he has a hard time figuring out where his key reads are.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
But yes, I think Fab has it correct. You drafted Kelsey right after, so that didn't that didn't help very much. That'll do it for our Instagram questions. We're going to get into questions from TikTok. Matt Kwan says, need help for half PPR flex. I don't trust Marvin Harrison Jr. My options are Gus, DJ Moore, and Braylon Allen. Raj?
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have Gus as an option. First of all,
Yeah.
I would go DJ Moore, especially what he did previously with the Vikings a few weeks ago. I think that was a good roadmap for him to play well again this week against the Vikes. And I agree. I don't trust Marvin Harrison Jr. either. I don't think the Cardinals trust him either. The way they're playing him.
The only one I would take. Agree. Yeah, I would agree. But the only one I would take over DJ Moore is actually Braylon Allen in the event that Breece Hall misses another week. I think it's worth the flex play against a very plus matchup against the Jaguars. The funny thing about Marvin Harrison Jr., if you look at his stats week in and week out, 1 week touchdown, 1 week no touchdown, 1 week touchdown, 1 week no touchdown. Last week he didn't have a touchdown. So you have to assume that there's going to be a touchdown this week. But then again, I wouldn't hope on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't assume. I think it's Braylon Allen may get a bump if Breece Hall doesn't play, but I think at first glance, I think I'm with Raj. I go DJ Moore in your flex, and to be able to put DJ Moore in your flex, your team's got to be pretty solid. Next question comes from Luca_1.0. Who do you think will score the most points? This week. Which fantasy player, regardless of position? Fab.
I mentioned Saquon Barkley there just because he's been on a tear all season. I just feel like it's the easiest play. But Derrick Henry playing against the Giants this week, I think it's a good play as well to score the most amount of fantasy points. But as I say that, you guys saw that Derrick Henry cut his hair?
What?
You didn't see that?
No, I didn't.
No. Yeah, Derrick Henry cut his hair. Now he went full, just like cornrows. He has like braids and everything. And they're saying that now he lost his aura. So I don't know if that actually means anything, but yeah, Derrick Henry is always a plus. They get a bunch of touchdowns, especially versus the very unformidable Giants defense.
I'm going to go Jaden Daniels going quote unquote home. I think he's playing at New Orleans against the Saints, kind of return back to LSU to Baton Rouge. So I'll go with Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels, eh?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Great. We'll move on to the next question here. Wow, this is going to be a tough one. I apologize in advance. Josiah Merchant?
Yeah, that sounds right.
What are your thoughts on the MVP and Offensive Rookie of the Year awards and any Super Bowl predictions? I guess we'll start with you, Fab.
Might be an unpopular opinion, especially after what happened with Josh Allen this week, but I think it's still Lamar with Allen and Burrow close behind. Burrow's obviously not going to get it just for how the Bengals have been playing as of late. But I think it's a two-headed race between Lamar and Allen. Lamar's been he's been like, if last year was a baseline for Lamar Jackson, this year he's just been ripping every single statistical category. And obviously Allen is Allen, and you might have to give the edge to Allen just because his team is performing better, especially as of late. But those would be like my two-headed race if I had to choose one. An honorable mention to Sam Darnold. Like he's I know like they're not winning necessarily because of him, but they're definitely not winning in spite of him. And he's been very good this year. And just because I feel like he
5 TDs
deserves to
last
have
week.
some level, was that?
5 TDs last week.
Yeah, I mean, and like your TD to INT ratio is very good. I think his QB rating is above 100 for the season, if not close to. So um, it sucks that he's playing this well in a season where like other quarterbacks are just smashing it. So like he wouldn't necessarily be even looked at or considered. But just want to give props a little bit to Sam Darnold there.
I think he's more worthy than Goff.
I would agree.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. The Lions run a lot more, so I'd give him the nod before that. Raj, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say Allen for sure.
Like I don't know.
I have nothing else to say.
Lamar was leading, but he's definitely not leading anymore. And offensive rookie of the year. Did you guys say?
I think, well, for me, it was Jaden Daniels. And I just want to give a shout out to Brian Thomas Jr., who I think out of all the 4 top end wide receivers who were drafted in the first round, he's looking to be the most productive this year out of all of them, I think.
Yeah, I think it's Jaden. It's been up and down for all the rookies, but I would agree. Good shout out to Brian Thomas Jr. I just want to say I'm surprised how it feels like Joel hasn't played very well lately for the Chargers. I just want to mention that. Like, I think
He
there
got
was a
hurt,
lot.
eh? He was injured a bit though.
He was injured a bit, yeah. But just overall, that Chargers O line has been really mediocre, and I thought Alt would be way better this year as a maybe sleeper kind of pick for offensive rookie of the year, but we know it always goes to the skill positions.
Yeah, and even like Bo Nix is starting to climb a little bit, and that was my pick. But then everyone kind of forgets about a guy named Brock Bowers, who's just all he's doing is breaking records, right? Like I think he's second in the league in receptions, not only for tight ends, but just in the league. Like if this guy ends up with over 100 catches and 8 touchdowns, and he's already over, he's over or just over or almost over 1,000 yards. Like, could he not sneak in with a couple of bad games down the stretch from Daniels or Bo Nix, let's say? I don't know, man.
My argument to that is the same way why you would pick one MVP candidate over another, the team he plays on. Like Jaden has actually helped Washington make a serious playoff push, and they're most likely going to make the playoffs for the first time in God knows how long and be
But
a
that's an
credible team. And you could
MVP
say the
type
Exactly.
vote. That's
same
an
article for
MVP
Bo
type vote.
Nix.
It's not an MVP
Yeah,
vote, though.
traditionally, offensive player of the year and offensive rookie of the year, you don't really factor in the team's
No.
success. It's a bit of an outlier this year because both guys we're talking about, I think those guys will be top 2, Daniels and Bo Nix. They are in playoff contention, so I think they'll get that bump. But I think the Brock Bowers argument is very valid, especially if you consider who is throwing him the ball.
Yeah.
Like it's wild how good he's been.
And quickly, I'll ask both of you Super Bowl prediction. Start with you, Fab.
Bills and Eagles. That's who I would like to see. That's not necessarily who I think is going to be there, but because the Chiefs are just going to win their 3rd Super Bowl. But I would like to see the Bills versus the Eagles.
Raj?
Chiefs Eagles rematch for me.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to see Bills Lions, but ultimately, I think Mahomes will beat Josh Allen again in the playoffs to go to the Super Bowl. So I'm saying Chiefs and Lions.
Well, if not him, it's going to be the refs. So either way.
Moving on, Jake DeBellis. Pick one: AJ Brown, Kittle, Neighbors, or Kyron Williams.
It's Kyron for me. AJ Brown really, I mean, maybe he might get his squeaky wheel gets the grease scenario this week, but I'm not a fan of putting a tight end in I guess this is like a flex spot, excuse me. Neighbors is getting every single target under the sun, but he plays in a really bad offense, so those targets necessarily don't lead to a lot of yards after the catch, or he's just stuck in the mud whenever he gets a catch. So Kyron has been surging. Last few weeks, he's been really turning it on after putting up a bit of a dud game 4 weeks ago. He's been right up there.
I'm curious who Jake's tight end is, who he's actually starting.
Probably
Because
Bowers.
like has to be either McBride or like. Because I agree with you. Like Kittle's been so good, it's hard to put him in your flex. I would just start him at tight end. But otherwise, in that position, I still feel like a running back like Kyron, better floor, and like you said, Fab, he's had a really good stretch again lately, and we all thought this guy was going to be injured at some point this year, and he's been pretty much a clean bill of health all year, and I think he's played really well.
I may be a bit biased, but I think I go Kittle. I'm assuming he probably has a McBride or Bowers in his tight end slot, and this just makes it a beast kind of 1-2 punch. So I'll say I think I go Kittle. Neighbors, like you said, is just lost in that offense right now. AJ Brown, who knows? He's fighting with his brother, and Kyron. Kyron's a good pick. I
Yeah.
can't disagree on Kyron. I know Corum has been seeing a little bit more of the field though lately. So
Yep.
um, Matt 2.51 thoughts on Marvin Harrison Jr. and Devontae Adams this week, and will Kincaid play in Week 15?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, I would not trust him, and
Yeah, I think we all pick Adams in this spot.
yeah, definitely pick Adams. Had a good game last week.
Yeah, and as far as Dalton Kincaid, he should be back Week 15, but I would just keep an eye on it. There's no definitive answer out there as of yet. Next question comes from Mr. Tito 11. Jordan Addison or T. Higgins in my flex for Week 15. Also, Arizona defense or Broncos defense.
Yeah, so I'm leaning Addison here, but only by a little. And this is more for a recency bias than anything else. He's been on a rocket of a tear lately. But I guess I would play the hot hand in this case. Yeah, my play would be Jordan Addison, but it's very, very close.
Addison for me too, especially if the Bears play Justin Jefferson the same way they did last game, where they were double, triple teaming him, and it left or Addison pretty much open. And for the defense, this is a tough one. I think those are two good matchups. I'd probably lean Broncos with Anthony Richardson, but it's a slight lean just because I know Drake May will be a bit more accurate. And I think Drake May right now is better than Anthony Richardson, but it's I think both options are very good from a defensive standpoint.
Yep, I think I agree with both. I'd go Addison and Broncos as well. LMA. Oh. There's a lot of O's there. 5 O's. Start 2. Lad, Judy, DJ Moore. I also don't know who to start. I don't know to start
Charbonnet.
Charbonnet at flex. RBs are Jacobs and JT.
Ooh,
Wow,
that's
this is
tough.
a good one.
That's
This
a
is
very good one. Yeah,
this is a good one.
I would go Judy. I think you have to keep rolling with Judy.
Yes.
And Lad is tough because it looks like he's dealing with 2 injuries, I believe, the shoulder and the knee.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about DJ Moore. I think he's in a good spot against the blitzing Vikings defense to catch a lot of screens. And Josh Jacobs has been on a roll. I think he I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but he probably has like 8 touchdowns in the past like 4 games or something. He just came off a 3 touchdown game. So I think he's absolute must start week in, week out. And I would probably roll and lean with Charbonnet just because of the PPR factor. And I think he had a 26% target share against Arizona last week. So to me, Charbonnet, like he might be a must start regardless of whether Kenneth Walker the third plays or not.
Yeah, that's the scary part, especially if you're like, because I think Kenneth Walker is supposed to miss a few weeks from what I've been reading. It's not confirmed yet, but they might sideline him for like a week or two. So Charbonnet should be playing the majority of the the majority of the snaps this week. And if that's the case, which it should be, then you're starting him, and I will have no issue sitting Jonathan Taylor for Charbonnet if you have to choose one or the other. Because JT with AR there, it's not really consistent, the running back, the carries for JT in that offense. And it's always a little bit more difficult when you do have a run first quarterback that is like Anthony Richardson. For the start too, if Lad plays, he's playing. They're playing the Bucks this week. I mean, I think he's an auto start for me, and Jerry Judy as well. I agree with you, Rod. You got to play the hot hand there.
I agree with that point. If Lad starts, you play him.
If he starts, that means he's good enough to play. And I think,
that's it,
like we've been picking on the Bucks all year, so I would definitely go Lad and Judy, and I'm finding a way to get Charbonnet in my lineup. Make the hard
100%.
decision. He's fresh too, right? He hasn't been playing the boatload of snaps all year, right? Behind Walker, he
I
looks.
think he's better than Walker. I think
Yeah,
he
looks. He
is.
just
He
looks.
doesn't.
He
is.
looks better. He's got more juice. He's like, you know what it reminds me of a little bit? The Najee kind of Warren thing, where like Warren comes in and has more
Yeah.
juice and more punch and more whatever. Like this guy just looks like the better all around player.
Yeah, quickly the Walker. I think the issue Walker, it's always the home run with him. Versus Charbonnet is just like, I'm going to take what I get, and if it turns into like 10 yards, 20 yards, whatever, I think that's a better fit for them.
Yeah. Next question is from Daily Uploaded Clips. Pick up Kraft or Hunter Henry. I think this is an easy one for me.
Yeah, I like Henry. Kraft. I had Kraft in my hate pick last week, and he made me look bad. But it's really hard to trust anyone on the Packers receiving corps on a week-to-week basis. And Henry's the tight end 9 right now, and he's had a good target share over the past 3 weeks. So, and the Pats, the way they run that offense, it's really tight end specific and tight end heavy. Versus again that Marxist socialist wide receiver core of the Packers that it's just very hard to predict.
Yeah, but you're right about that. It is a bit of a socialistic wide receiver core. I get that, but there's one constant, and it's Tucker Kraft. Like every single week, he gets his targets and he gets touchdowns more often than not. And Jordan Love looks for him. I feel like more than like he looks a lot for Christian Watson and for whatever reason Dontavian Wicks. But Tucker Kraft he's been quite consistent in getting points regardless of matchup, and majority of times too he's also looked at in the red zone. It's not a fluke, like it's pretty consistent. I would go Kraft here, and Kraft also has a better schedule too for the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't care about season. I can't trust anyone on the Green Bay offense besides Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs, because
then
it's just every week is a toss up.
So would you trust Jordan Love over Drake May?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but that's different. Like,
I'm just
Jordan
saying,
Love doesn't care.
I just said I would. The only two people I trust on Green Bay is Jordan Love and
I understand
Josh
that.
Jacobs.
I'm just comparing now the quarterbacks that are throwing the tight ends the ball, right? I don't know. It's just
for sure. But there's also
it's good that we're split on this because we don't want to agree on everything. But like, I would go Kraft instead of Hunter Henry.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is why we have these debates. But for me, like I said, it's for sure I trust Love more. But there's also 4 targets that he goes to week in and week out. I don't know.
Tucker Kraft the last 3 weeks, 12.5 fantasy points. Hunter Henry 12. It's like
it's pretty
neck and neck.
Yeah, it's a coin flip at this
point. For sure. Lane Karan asks, is Saquon Barkley the best running back in his generation? Would you put Henry in his generation? Because if you are, I think I'm leaning more towards Henry.
Man,
that's where I'm stuck too.
Yeah, what's the generation?
What's the generation? Like, what's the cutoff of generation?
So apart from Derrick Henry, who would you say is better than Saquon Barkley from a pure running back perspective right now?
Like this year?
Well, just in general, like I say, body of work the last few years. Like Alvin Kamara.
Is Adrian Peterson too far back?
Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, I was gonna what constitutes a generation? Is it 20 years? Is that a generation?
I believe
20-year span?
Yeah, I believe so.
Like you need at least a good sample. So you can't say the last 5 years, right? Like, so Henry would for sure, I think, surpass him 100%. And you just mentioned a good one in AP, and like I would take Adrian Peterson over him also.
I think I'd still take Tom. Yeah, LaDainian Tomlinson would still count, right?
I don't think
Almost
those guys. I
he's
don't
a
think those guys are in the same generation. I'll give you Derrick Henry's in the same
yeah,
generation as
20
Saquon
years.
Barkley. Not AP. AP's not
I
in the same
okay,
generation as
but
Saquon Barkley.
AP? Adrian Peterson is not the same generation?
you just said
Why
20
wouldn't he be?
years.
20
Yeah,
years ago.
he retired in like 2014, 2015. Even no, he played like 4 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
He
So
was
why
playing up
wouldn't he
in
be?
like with the
He's
Saints.
definitely in the generation. I think I would have thought LT made less sense, but he's still 20 years ago.
So, Fab, look it up.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah,
He's
this
biased
is
towards
gonna
he's
get
too
me look it up.
biased
But
towards Barkley. He's too biased
no, I
towards
don't.
Ageism,
Barkley.
I just
ageism,
chose Derrick Henry
ageism.
over him. I just
No,
chose
so
Derrick. Yeah.
and I think that's wrong too. Like, just the pass catching aspect of Saquon is something that Henry was
But
never able to
he's
get
not a
to.
pass catcher though,
He's not a
Barkley.
pat.
He's not a
No,
great
for
pass
sure.
catcher.
Barkley.
He's not a
Yeah.
pass catcher.
He,
He had
what?
91 receptions his rookie season.
His rookie season, but he's not known for being a pass catcher.
But he has that ability. Versus Henry was
Well,
Henry
what's
up
known for
until
being a pass catcher? Alvin Kamara.
That you could say obviously
Yeah, so then
100%.
nobody is known for being a pass catcher for comparing that. No, Barkley gets you a fat amount of targets every single season, and he has juice to run for it too. But like I would pure running back, best
He has
generation.
29 receptions this year.
Yeah. Yeah, well then again, they're also throwing
It's
like
not,
what 10
it's not
times a game.
massive. Like he has half of what Derrick Henry has, or Derrick Henry has half of what he has.
But I mean,
That's a product of
body
the
of
offense
work.
too, though.
If you look at body of work, Henry has never been a guy. I think
No.
Henry's
Henry
top year
100%.
was like
But
35.
if we're
35.
talking pure running back, like Henry, right?
I would agree.
I would disagree with that. Personally.
I would agree.
Yeah,
That's a good debate to have, though.
yeah.
That'll do it for our TikTok questions. We've got one from Facebook. Nayar G, Anthony Richardson or Russell Wilson in a super flex league. Man, I don't really like both options.
Yeah.
I don't like either. If I have to choose gun to my head, I'm taking Anthony Richardson just for the rushing upside. But I'm not
Agreed.
I'm not a fan of either of them.
Yeah, maybe just for that, but like Russell may not make as many mistakes, but obviously the upside is for sure limited. We got a couple questions here to finish off from Reddit. Hawkeye547, thoughts on defense for the rest of the year. Currently, I have New Orleans Saints, but I think it makes sense to make a change. I'm looking at Arizona, Baltimore, Atlanta, and the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, the Falcons actually they've had issues rushing the passer the past the past like 12 years, 15 years, but they've had 9 sacks over the past 2 weeks actually. And they get Vegas and the Giants the next 2 games in the fantasy playoffs. So I think that's actually a really good option. For New Orleans, though, you can't conceivably start the Commanders this week. It'd be too risky. So I would definitely pick up the Falcons and try to see what you could do on the last week of the season, because I don't remember who they got, but it's not a good matchup for the Falcons in week 17.
Yeah, I agree with that too. The Falcons have been actually sneaky good as a defense in the last little while, and the Cardinals. I know we had mentioned how they have a very good matchups for the rest of the playoff season, but they haven't been all that great. I will go with the Falcons though for now, and then listen, worry about the finals when you get to the finals. In my opinion,
exactly.
like you kind of want to also make sure that you get there first.
Exactly.
I think I'm going Baltimore if you can get them. They get the Giants this week. They get Pittsburgh in week 16. They put up 10 points against them the last time they played, and then they get Houston in the final week. So I think Baltimore is my pick for the defense to ride through the playoffs. 6789. James Cook at Detroit or Jameson Williams versus Buffalo for a flex.
Yeah, this one stumped me actually. This one is tougher than it originally reads. I'm like, oh, for sure, James Cook. But then I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm feeling safe with Cook, but Williams could very well pop off here for 90 yards and a touchdown on 4 receptions versus Buffalo. And we all know that Detroit's defense is pretty good. So Cook might have a better floor, but Jameson probably has the ceiling, I feel.
Fab said it perfectly. Depends on what you need. If you
I
feel you
was,
need a
I was,
floor,
yeah.
go with Cook. If you feel you're going to need upside because you're in a kind of underdog matchup, then go with Williams.
I say
And
that though, and
Williams
I'm
is
looking
actually
at
coming off a good game, and
Yeah.
Cook is actually coming off a bad game. So it could definitely be the reverse. But yeah, if you need, not a miracle, but I mean, if you're looking at your matchup versus your opponent and you need something, like Cook may not be the guy that gets you 30 points, but Jameson might.
So Mr. 6'7", I have both these guys. I think it might be my last year owning both of them because it's a roller coaster, man. Like,
And the last question here is cat named Hercules. 12-team Superflex Dynasty 6-point passing TD. Pick one: Stroud versus Miami or May versus Arizona. Wow.
not hard for me, May.
Yeah, I think I'm
The
going
rushing
May
up,
yeah.
too.
the
Like, I
rushing
don't like
upside.
Stroud at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have Stroud in our Bush League, and they're facing Miami this week, and I think I'm actually benching him in favor of Aaron Rodgers, who has a much better matchup. And I can't believe I'm saying that at this point of the season, but Rodgers is actually coming off a very
Yeah,
good game, a very good showing, and Stroud has just, I don't know, man, he has not looked the part at all season.
you do that.
Yes, please. Guys, thank you so much. That wraps up our mailbag portion of the pod. Again, shout out to all of you guys who took the time to get your questions in. I hope we were very helpful. Let us know how we did. I'll quickly dive into some injuries. Jonathan Brooks, poor guy, tore his ACL, out for the season, likely to miss at least half of next season as well. So not a good start for him. Aiden O'Connell, leg supposedly out for the
Yeah.
season, but
No.
I
Yeah,
heard some
he might
things
play.
that it could be he might play or something. Originally was out for the season, but just keep an eye out for that. Justin Herbert had a leg contusion, finished the rest of the game. Will Disley didn't come back from a shoulder injury. Demarcus Robinson also left with a shoulder injury. Derek Carr, significant fracture to his non-throwing hand. He was expected to miss several weeks, and then a report came out today saying even if he doesn't practice, he could play. But I don't see that to be very plausible. Guerendo, as we mentioned earlier, foot injury, most likely not playing Thursday. Keep an eye out for that. Bucky Irving, left the game early, never came back. Back injury, those are never a good sign. Most likely misses week 15. And then Will Levis, AC joint, kept him out for 3 games. So just something to monitor with that. Now we move on to our love hate. We did not so great in week 14, guys. I think in week 13 we were 9-3, and week 14 we went 3-9. Complete 180 for this week. So I'll just quickly recap. Fab, you lost on an Aiden O'Connell love, Derek Carr love, and a Jonu Smith hate. That
Jonas
one
Smith,
that one was tough as he
that
as he got you in
Nope.
the
Nope.
in
Nope.
OT, but
Nope.
that's what it is.
he was doing cardio all game, and then when overtime came around, Tua decided to throw to him, and I thought I had this one in the bag. I'm like 0
3
points,
straight catches,
awesome.
man.
Yeah,
3
3 straight
catches,
catches
one
and
for a
the
touchdown.
touchdown, just to
Yeah.
like
I was
salt on
like,
the
you know
wound,
what,
you know?
man,
Yeah.
I can't even catch a break in love hate sometime. Okay, that's fine.
You did win with Debo Samuel as your hate, however, so you finished the week at 1-3. Rod, you split the week. You lost with Will Levis as a love and Tucker Kraft as a hate. You did win. Marquez Valdez Scantling.
My chinny chin
He,
chin.
Skin
he
your teeth.
did outperform his projections, even though it was just 9.1. And you also won with Geno Smith as a hate, as he also just missed out on his projections. I went 0-4. Lost on Jacoby Myers, just missed out on his projections as well. Nick Westbrook Akine, he was Mr. Invisible. Aaron Rodgers put up a pretty decent stat line, so I lost with that. And then Bryce Young, I couldn't believe how low his projections were. He actually finished with only 14 points, and that was
Eagles
still
D, man.
over. That was still over his projections, so I took an L on that one. So looking to bounce back in the first week of the playoffs. So without further ado, Raj, give me your first love of the week.
My first love of the week is Adam Thielen. Thielen versus the Cowboys. So surprisingly, Adam Thielen is the consensus 35th ranked wide receiver for Week 15, which is absolutely wild to me. He saw a 33% target share against the Eagles' exciting White's Eagles secondary. And in his last two games, he's at 24 and 19 points per game in PPR. He gets a Cowboys defense that's given up 62 catches over the last 4 weeks, which is the most by any team in the league. And we obviously saw how they just got absolutely destroyed by Jamar Chase on Monday Night Football during that Simpsons coverage, which was awesome, by the way. We've seen what Bryce Young has looked like, and he's looked really good, remarkably better since being inserted back into the lineup. So to me, Thielen is a must start over guys like Jaden Reed, Deebo Samuel, Devontae Smith, Marvin Harrison Jr., who we've picked on a lot today. Like, to me, this is like WR2 territory for Thielen, especially if you're a PPR.
100% agree, and I don't even think I could add anything. 35th ranked is madness.
Nuts.
Madness.
Get him in.
Yeah.
Madness. Get him in. What about your second love for the week?
Yeah, this one is not so obvious. Cole Kmet at the Vikings. So over the last 4 weeks, the Vikings defense has allowed 36 receptions, most in the league in that span to tight ends, for 304 yards, which is also second in the league during that time frame. And Cole Kmet had 6 catches, 74 yards on 10 targets against the Vikings in Week 12, a game the Bears could have won, and Caleb probably played his best game as a pro. In fact, Kmet has had back-to-back games of 7 catches and over 40 yards versus the Vikes. So as good as the Minnesota defense has been on a real-life basis and standpoint, from a fantasy perspective, they've been very, very generous through the air. And I think Kmet is a very solid tight end option this week in fantasy playoffs.
Trying to fight your demons there with the tight end, eh? Trying to redeem yourself.
Yeah. my biggest love-hate demons are tight ends and Thursday night football games. I have not done well in either one.
Yeah,
we got to take a look at our record for Thursday night football games in the season.
I don't think we have one.
I don't think we want to look at that at the moment. I don't think it looks very pretty.
Nope.
Thank you, Raj. Fab, what about your loves for this week?
Jameis Winston versus Kansas City. So in the last 4 games since the bye, Jameis has thrown 1,323 yards, which is the most in that span, 9 total touchdowns, 5th most, and has 100 fantasy points, which is about 25 points per game average. So it's 4th highest. And those were against tough defenses too. The no risk it, no biscuit playoff season is here. In Week 15, Jameis against Kansas City defense, who have not been a super tough fantasy defense as of late. QBs are scoring on average 20 points against them per game since their week 6 bye, when they were only giving up about 17 points per game prior to that. KC also give up an explosive play on average much higher than any other defenses at 5.8%, and have one of the lowest pressure rate in the league at 27.4%. I think this is music to Winston's ear. Fire him up as a low-end QB1, must start in 2 QB and Superflex formats.
Year round.
No risk it, no biscuit.
I think he's a rest of season start in 2 QB.
Yeah, and you see what he's doing in that offense, right? I mean, Njoku has been a target hog, and they're finally using him correctly. Well, finally using him correctly. He's being used the way he should be used when Deshaun Watson is not playing quarterback. And Jerry Jeudy just exploded. And yeah, like this makes perfect sense to me.
Like Watson is like it's donezo, right? Like they're Russell Wilsoning him next year. Like
they have
to, right? Like
to.
If they start Deshaun Watson at QB next year, like it's beyond joke after that.
I think
right?
fans are going to revolt if they start him, to be honest with you, because say what you want about Jameis Winston, from like a quarterback standpoint. Yes, he is high risk and all that stuff, but like guys love playing for him. Like he's good in the locker room, and like his teammates love him, and he's also a fun character, like even on the field too. And you see his interviews and all that stuff. Like, why wouldn't you want that as your quarterback?
He's going to be in the league for a long time. He's going to be either a spot starter or a backup for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's a 17 game starter, in my opinion.
I mean, he can do it.
I think he's more of that.
He won't win you games. That's the thing. Like he won't. He'll probably lose you as many games as he wins you. You know, and that's That's the thing with him.
He's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, but that's what kind of like scared him away from places, right? And that's why he wasn't starting, is because of the turnovers. And you saw it again Sunday, like costly turnovers that really ruined any shot of winning. So to your point, he'll lose you a lot of games with his mistakes rather than win you more games. And I think that's what turns people off when giving him the starting nod.
Deliver us from pick sixes.
Oh, I can't stand him. I can't. I just can't do it. Let's just move on. Um, who's your second love for the week?
Zach Ertz at New Orleans. 4 straight games of 6 targets or more, TD, and double-digit fantasy points in the last 3. Ertz is quietly tight end 7 in the last 4 weeks, despite being on a bye for one of them. So it's actually 3 weeks worth of points for him, and he's still tight end 7. Week 15, he gets the Saints, giving up the 11th fewest fantasy points to tight ends. Not an amazing matchup, but that shouldn't really scare you because two of his last 3 games where Ertz scored a touchdown and hit double-digit fantasy points were against top-rated tight end fantasy defense in Tennessee and Philly. He's a borderline tight end 1 for me and a start for me this week. He's been really good, man. Him and Jaden have been connecting on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. He's had a great career, man. I've always liked Zach Ertz, and even at like 34, 35, it's good to still see him in the league contributing.
He's still making some pretty like contested catches too, right? It's not just like to the gut
Man,
and like close, like making some athletic catches.
He was top 2 tight end like when he was
Oh,
with
yeah.
Philly. Like it was him and pretty much him and Kelsey or like.
Well, last year too, I think, before McBride came on, or was it the year before that, where he was playing for the Cardinals? It was last year, right? He was playing really well in the beginning, and then he got injured. Then McBride really took over, but
he's always been very good. He's always been very good. Thanks, Fab. I'll go quickly with my loves for this week. So my first one will be Khalil Shakir at the Lions. So Shakir has been the WR1 for the Bills, and he's actually WR or wide receiver 22 on the season in PPR formats. He's been Mr. Consistent, scoring double-digit fantasy points in every game but 2 this season. He's also gone the last 7 games with at least 7 targets. And coming off a monster performance in Week 14, where he had 5 catches for 106 yards and a TD on 8 targets in a shootout versus the Rams. This week, he gets a Lions team that just two weeks ago gave up 48 total points to Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. They give up the 6th most fantasy points to wide receivers on the season, and this could easily become another shootout.
This is a great call. I like this a lot.
Super solid all year.
Yeah, he's a must start, and he's been quietly like Nak said, like wide receiver 22, like you wouldn't expect it, but he's a must start.
Yeah. And my second love for the week is going to be Brian Robinson Jr. at the Saints. So Robinson quickly showed he's over his ankle injury with a 40-yard TD run on Washington's first possession of the game. He ended with 103 rushing yards on 16 carries for just under 6.5 yards per carry. So most running backs not named Henry or Barkley are usually not as productive fantasy-wise when not involved in the passing game. But however, Robinson has shown he can get it done running the ball, having only 14 receptions on the season. He gets a Saints D giving up the 8th most points to running backs and just gave up 19 and 18 points to Tyrone Tracy and Kyron Williams, respectively. He's a top 12 play in Week 15 in all formats.
Eckler's still out, right, for another two weeks.
He's on IR.
He's on IR.
He's gone for the regular season.
For the regular season, yeah.
Yeah, fire him up with confidence.
Yep.
Big time. So those were our loves for Week 15. Raj, start us off with your first hate of the week.
Yep. First hate of the week is Michael Pittman Jr. at Denver. So wide receivers who play out wide at a high clip, which is 80% of the time for Michael Pittman Jr., do not fare well against Patrick Surtain, who generally covers the outside of the field at a 90% clip. So MPJ, when playing some of the more elite corners this year, such as Jalen Johnson, Derek Stingley Jr., Sauce Gardner, and Christian Gonzalez, had 36, 16, 46, and 42 receiving yards. So I'd look for Alec Pierce, Alec Ogletree, and hopefully Josh Downs, if he could play this week, to have far more success against Denver than Pittman Jr., who's, I think we'd all agree, had a disappointing season riddled by injuries and lack of chemistry with Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. And they just paid him too. It looks maybe a little bit of buyer's remorse considering who the quarterback was.
Yeah, he's a good player. It's not the right fit. Like AR is just downfield guy, and that's not his game, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. What about your second hate for the week?
Yeah, second hate a bit controversial, but I'm gonna go with DK Metcalf versus the
Hey,
Packers
taking a
as
page out of my
yeah,
book.
a little bit, not as much as you, not as much balls as you, but hating DK Metcalf versus the Packers. I think it couldn't be more official than it is now. Metcalf is now the second option for the Seahawks, despite being the first read option on 36% of targets compared to JSN's 27. But in the past 4 weeks, his target share of 24, while still good, his catch percentage, even at 70%, has been quite good. But the issue is he has no touchdowns since week 7, which is leading to an average of 10 fantasy points per game. And Gino just isn't pushing the ball downfield as much as he was during the first few weeks of the season. If you couple with the fact that they're also facing a Packers defense that has been middle of the pack, but has typically been quite good over the air, DK to me is a risky play in fantasy this week.
Yep, I can definitely get on board with that.
It's tough. It's a tough one because like the name is there, but it just like it's 4 straight weeks, the production hasn't been there.
Like his floor is very high, but his floor right now is also a ceiling, which is like 10 fantasy
It's
points.
10,
And
yeah.
the touchdown
Yeah,
regression is an
that's not
issue.
what you drafted
No,
DK
No.
Metcalf
at all.
to get you, especially heading into the playoffs. So tread lightly. Fab, who's your first hate for the week?
Russell Wilson at the Philadelphia Eagles. So Russ has been cooking, no doubt, but Bird might not be on the menu this week. Russ and Co. get the pesky Eagles who have shut down even the best of QBs this year. Philly defense give up an explosive pass play, which is 20 plus yards or more, 2.9%, one of the lowest percentages in the league. Couple that with no George Pickens, I think it's going to be a rough outing for Mr. Unlimited. You might be playing a very, very dangerous game if he's in your lineup in any format. He's a low end QB2 for me this week. I tried to use as many Russell Wilson little jabs as I could in there. I hope you guys pick them up on all of them.
Go Hawks.
Fab likes a good pun.
Very much so. It's so much fun, guys. Come on. Let's
Did
make
you
it
just
a
say
little
go
bit lively.
Hawks?
That's what we used
Come
to
on.
say after every interview. Go Hawks.
Oh,
Go Hawks.
I thought you were like Eagles, whatever.
No,
I
because
thought
then what did he said? Let's ride in Denver. And
Let's
then what was
ride.
it? What was it
Steelers.
supposed to be
Broncos
with the
country.
Steelers? Let's steal. Let's weld.
No, it's Steelers
Let's
country. Let's
Oh,
weld.
just yeah.
Let's weld.
Just
No, that was just the internet.
Yeah,
that was not Russ. He's Mr. Unlimited.
Unlimited.
Who's your second hate for the week, Fab?
DeAndre Swift at the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Swift love story is finally over for 2024. 3 straight games of less than 10 fantasy points. Hasn't had over 15 carries since week 10. And he's playing the Vikings this week, who are 29th versus the run, and stuffed Swift for 2.3 yards per carry in week 12, where he only scored 9.5 fantasy points, 7.5 of which came in from PPR. At this point of the season, Swift may have helped you get into the fantasy playoffs thanks to his performance earlier in the year, but he can't be trusted this week. He's a borderline flex play if you're desperate, but if not, he should be on your bench.
You know that's like the key thing now with the matchups so late in the season is like it's the second go around with a lot of teams playing the same ones that they played. So like if Swift was bad against the Vikings and the Vikings are good on against the run, like you might as well just sit Swift. Like there's enough proof that shows that these guys, you should probably sit them if they didn't have success the first time.
Plus, I know we talk about how like some guys are not necessarily matchup dependent. If you look at his schedule throughout the entire season, Swift was very matchup dependent, and he didn't fare well against teams that had a very good run defense, even if you play them often.
This,
like even against
this is another
Detroit, he didn't do well.
Yeah.
Obviously, Minnesota didn't do well. So yeah, you might have to look elsewhere this week.
I don't like Swift as a lead back type dude. Like I don't know, man.
Not for
never
him.
really. It's not for some people. He's more of that change of pace, third down. Like that's the guy you want on the field for that. But to go between the tackles and stuff, like that's not the guy.
He was bouncing everything against the Niners. Like every single run was just inside, then I'm going to take it outside. And it's just in Chicago, that doesn't work.
No, definitely not. My first hate this week is going to be Tyrone Tracy Jr. versus the Ravens. So Tracy saw a season high in target share, 21.7. He ran a route on 71% of the team's dropbacks, which is also a season high. He played on 83% of the snaps, which was the second time he's been over 80%, and saw 89% of the running back share, which was the second highest of the season. He also played a Saints D that has been very generous to running backs. Things might look a little bit different in Week 15 when he gets a Ravens D giving up the 9th fewest points to running backs, and the Giants figure to be playing from behind early and often. And Tracy will be in for a tough afternoon. I think it's going to be a very hard bench. But if you have better options, I may look. The volume and the percentage of on field is very promising. So they're gonna use him, but I don't know. I'm scared that they just get, it's 21-0 in the first quarter, and then you're just like, he's like, what's he like?
The Giants are 15-point underdogs, man.
Yeah. That's what scares me, because he is a human highlight reel to an extent, right? Like, he's had a really solid season. He just put up 17 or 19 points last week. So, he could do it. It's just that how much of is it going to be, is he going to have the opportunity in garbage time? Are they just going to suffocate Drew Lock or, DeVito?
I think there's going to be a lot of dump offs for PPR points here in garbage time. I like this call. It makes a lot of sense, but I feel like he caught 10 receptions last week, right? And he used to be a wide receiver as well out of college. So I see this being
5 receptions.
So it was 10 targets then. Sorry. So I think I see this being a PPR thing for him, but
you're gonna get Chase Brown.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say he's gonna get Chase Brown.
Maybe again. I will. Maybe I get Chase Brown. So maybe we in regular formats he's not as great, but maybe in PPR you might get the double digits.
Way to hedge your bets, Knack. Good job.
And my last hate for this week is going to be Tank Dell versus the Dolphins. Dell has been a very boomer bust all season after a breakout 2023. He's failed to hit double-digit fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games, and has totaled 7 total targets over the past 2 games, while averaging about 76% of the snaps. He's also averaging 45 yards per game and has been over 100 yards only once, and that was when Nico Collins was out. It gets a very tough matchup in Week 15 versus a Dolphins team giving up the 4th fewest points to wide receivers. They did give up 44 points to Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, but Stroud has also been struggling. So I don't have faith that Dell has a great outing.
Man,
yeah, he's a bench.
What a fall!
100%.
I don't think it's Dell. But
there's a bit of blame on Stroud for sure, but it's this is huge fall from 2023. Everyone was excited about this player, and he was drafted way too high this year. And fantasy managers didn't really reap the benefits of that.
When the O-line is in bad shape and there's a ton of pressure, those guys who are reliant on downfield throws, they're not always as effective.
Well, guys, that's going to wrap up our show here this week. Thank you again for everyone for all your questions. Very much appreciated. Please, as always, follow, subscribe on all of our social medias. And good luck in week 1 of the fantasy playoffs. Cue the music.
Playoffs.
Speaking of week 1, Fab, you ready?
I'm facing you in Bush League, and I'm facing Roger in the other league.
Really? You're getting a sandwich here.
I gotta go 2-0 this week, boys.
I'm so afraid of Josh Allen, man. I really no offense, but I hope you lose. I don't want to play you again.
Well, on the bright side, he's not going to put up 50 points 2 weeks in a row, right? So I think I should be.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't put it past him. That's for sure.
Oh, I would.
Remember when Fab won the league and he's been limping through, man?
When was that?
I made the playoffs last year. I finished first.
1985?
Last year I was one and done.
When did he win the league?
No, when he won. Sorry, not when he won.
Oh, he won. Yeah, he still did win.
The episode's over, right? Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you very much. Bye, guys. Good luck to your fantasy football player matchups.
Playoffs.